Gracious God, may we enter into the sacred season of Advent with a sense of a child's heart, being willing again to hear the stories of our faith that delighted us as children, to hear anew the promise of your Son, our Messiah. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen.
Please be seated. I want to take a moment to invite our Sunday school children to please return to the sanctuary. And if someone could please go get them, it would be better for them to come in now and not during preschool. David, can you maybe want to pick out a song to play while we wait for our Sunday school to come back? Usher, can you please go make sure that they actually are coming? So now with our Sunday school return today, you will notice that Otis Advent 1, we have transitioned the celebration for St. Nicholas to this day, so we could share St. Nicholas with us as well, because his feast day happens this week. From its first appearance to its legalization under Constantine, Christianity was an illegal religion in the eyes of the Roman state. For the first 2 centuries of its existence, Christianity and its practitioners were very unpopular. To the followers of the traditional Roman religions and emperor cults, Christians were odd creatures. They did not appear to be very Roman, but they were not barbarians either. However, their practices were deeply threatening to the traditional mores of Roman culture. Christians rejected public festivals, refused to take part in the imperial cult of emperor worship. They avoided public office and publicly criticized ancient traditions. Conversions to Christianity tore families apart, since Christians were thought to use black magic in pursuit of revolutionary aims, and to practice incest because they called one another brothers and sisters, and cannibalism because they ate bodies and drank blood. When Emperor Nero executed Christians for their alleged involvement in the fire of 64, it was purely a local affair. It did not spread beyond the city limits of Rome. The earliest persecutions were violent, brief, and limited in extent, but they were not a threat to Christianity as a whole. However, in the 3rd century, the patterns changed. Emperors became more active, and government officials began to actively pursue Christians rather than merely to respond to the will of the crowd. Christianity, too, changed. No longer were its practitioners merely the lower orders fomenting discontent. Some Christians were now rich, or from the upper class. Origen wrote in 248 that the multitude of people coming into the faith, even rich men and persons in positions of honor and ladies of high refinement, were burned. In response, reactions by government officials grew firmer and more widespread. Christians were obstinate in their non-compliance. And church leaders like Fabian, Bishop of Rome, and Babylas, Bishop of Antioch, were arrested, tried, and executed, as were certain members of the Christian laity like Theonas of Smyrna. But Diocletian, are you Diocletian? All right. Was acclaimed emperor in 284 as a religious conservative. Faithful to the traditional Roman practices, he preferred the Olympian gods and sought to inspire general religious revival. He reinforced the long-standing Roman preference for ancient customs and imperial opposition to independent societies, and was willing to reform every aspect of public life to satisfy his goals. Under his rule, coinage, taxation, architecture, law, and history were all radically reconstructed to reflect his authoritarian and traditional ideology. The reformation of the empire's moral fabric and the elimination of religious minorities was simply one step in his process, which required Roman leadership to enforce conformity of religion. Legionary may now escort your prisoners to jail. On February 23rd of 303, Diocletian ordered that the newly built Christian church at Nicomedia be razed, its scriptures burned and its treasures seized. February 23rd was the feast of Terminalia, or Terminus, the god of boundaries, and was the day that they planned to terminate Christianity. The next day, Diocletian's first edict against the Christians was published. The key targets of this piece of legislation were Christian property and senior clerics. The edict prohibited Christians from assembling for worship and ordered the destruction of their scriptures, liturgical books, and places of worship across the empire. Christians were also deprived of the right to petition courts, while Christian senators, equestrians, decurions, veterans, and soldiers were deprived of their ranks, and Christian imperial freedmen were re-enslaved. Additional edicts were proclaimed in response to a series of rebellions in Asia Minor, including modern-day Turkey and Syria. The edicts ordered the arrest and imprisonment of all bishops and priests. Eusebius writes that the edict added so many priests that ordinary criminals were crowded out and had to be released. 2 years later, Diocletian and Maximian resigned on May 1st, 305. Constantius and Galerius became the senior emperors, and Severus and Maximinus became junior emperors. Constantine succeeded his father on July 25, 306, and he ended any ongoing persecutions and offered Christians full restitution of all they had lost under the persecution. This declaration gave Constantine the opportunity to pay himself as a possible liberator of oppressed Christians everywhere. Yay! In the East, the persecution was officially discontinued on April 30th, 311. Now, Nicholas of Myra lived in a turbulent time in Roman history that has just been described. Living more than half his life in a period of intense Christian persecution before it gained protected status. Traditionally, Nicholas was born in the city of Patara in Lycia, a port on the Mediterranean Sea in Asia Minor in Roman Empire, to a wealthy family of Greek Christians. Nicholas's uncle was the bishop of the city of Myra, also in Lycia. For the first 36 years of his life, he lived under the threat and impact of Christian persecution. But after his parents died, Nicholas is said to have distributed their wealth to the poor. In his most famous exploit, Nicholas heard of a devout man who had once been wealthy, but had lost all his money due to the plotting and envy of others. And the man had 3 daughters. But they could not have a proper dowry, for their father could not afford it. This meant that they would have to either remain unmarried or, in the absence of any employment, be forced to become prostitutes. Hearing of the girls' plight, Nicholas decided to help them, but being too modest to help the family in public or to save them the humiliation of accepting his charity, he went to the house under the cover of night. And there at the house, as the daughters slept, he threw a purse filled with gold coins through the window. He did the same thing on the next 2 nights, giving the man a total of 3 bags of gold, 1 for each of his daughters. However, on the 3rd night, the father stayed up and caught Nicholas in the act of charity. But it was the father who fell on his knees, expressing thanks to Nicholas for his generosity. And Nicholas shared in turn that he should not tell anyone about the gift, and expressly stated that he motivated by a desire to save the daughters from being sold into prostitution. Nicholas's desire to help women is highly characteristic of 4th century Christianity due to the prominent role that women played in the early Christian movement. Today, the sign of 3 gold balls, signifying the 3 bags of gold gifted by Nicholas, are depicted in the sign that hangs over many pawnbroker shops, with St. Nicholas as the patron saint of pawnbrokers, among his many other custodial duties. From Nicholas's act of charity and devotion, Nicholas's uncle, the Bishop of Myra, recognized his nephew's calling and ordained him as a priest. David, would you like to play some ordination music as he is festive? Shortly thereafter, Nicholas traveled to the Holy Land, so some traveling music could be nice, including going to Egypt and to Palestine. It is told that the ship he was on met horrible storms upon his return voyage. And during that voyage, as the sea cast about mightily, and went up and down in the horrible storm, Nicholas turned and rebuked the waves, causing the storm to subside. Because of this miracle, Nicholas became venerated as the patron saint of sailors. Now, Nicholas eventually returned again to Myra, who had met the Bishop of Myra, who had succeeded Nicholas's uncle. But that bishop died, and the priests in the city had decided that the first priest who entered the church that morning would be made the Bishop of Myra. As Nicholas went to the church to pray, much to his surprise, he was proclaimed the new Bishop of Myra. It is said that during his first years as a bishop, he was unfortunately arrested and imprisoned during the Diocletian persecution. When Constantine ascended as emperor and legalized Christianity, Nicholas is said to have been among those church leaders who were released. Yay! Now, in 325, Nicholas attended the First Council of Nicaea, the first ecumenical council called by Constantine the Great. He's listed in historical documents as the 151st attendee and one of the bishops who signed the creed created during the council. More than 300 bishops came from all over the Christian world to debate the nature of the Holy Trinity. It was one of the early church's most intense theological questions, and Arius from Egypt was teaching that Jesus the Son was not equal to God the Father. As Arius vigorously continued, the story goes that Nicholas became more and more agitated. He could no longer bear what he believed was essentially being attacked. Outraged, Nicholas got up and crossed the room and slapped Arius across the face. The bishops were shocked and brought Nicholas to Constantine. Constantine said that although it was illegal for anyone to strike another person in his presence, in this case the bishops themselves must determine the punishment. And the bishops decided to strip Nicholas of his bishop's garments. They chained him and threw him into jail. Throw him into jail, guys. All right. That would keep Nicholas away from the meeting. When the council ended, a final decision would be made about his future. Nicholas was ashamed of his violence and prayed for forgiveness, although he did not waver in his belief. But during the night, Jesus and Mary, his mother, appeared, and they asked of Nicholas,
"Why are you in in jail?
Because of my love for you.
Nicholas replied. And Jesus then gave the book of Gospels to Nicholas. Mary gave him an omophorion, a vestment of his ecclesiastical authority. So Nicholas would again be dressed as a bishop. Where's my desking music? There it is. Now at peace, Nicholas studied the scriptures for the rest of the night. Now, when the jailer came in the morning, he found the chains loose on the floor and Nicholas dressed in bishop's robes quietly reading the scriptures. When Constantine was told of this, the emperor asked that Nicholas be freed, and Nicholas was then fully reinstated as the Bishop of Myra. The Council of Nicaea agreed with Nicholas's views, deciding the question against Arius. The work of the council produced the Nicene Creed, of which Nicholas was one of the signing bishops. The Nicene Creed continues to be said during any service in which bread and wine are consecrated as a central statement of Christian Trinitarian faith. Now, one story about St. Nicholas tells about during a terrible famine. This time of famine, there was a horrible butcher. And this malicious butcher lured 3 little children into his house, where he killed them and placed the remains in a barrel to cure, planning to sell them off as ham. Nicholas, visiting the region to care for the hungry, saw through the butcher's lies and resurrected the pickled children by making the sign of the cross. Seems bizarre and horrifying to modern audiences. Now you gotta lift up your arms like you're in an icon, because though this was seriously bizarre to us, it was tremendously popular through the Middle Ages and widely beloved by folk. It was depicted in stained glass windows, in wood panelings, and tapestries and frescoes, and eventually the scene became so widely reproduced that rather than showing the whole scene, artists began to depict Nicholas with 3 naked children in a wooden barrel. But over time, people who had forgotten or never learned the story began misrepresenting the interpretations of it. The fact that St. Nicholas was shown with children led people to conclude he was the patron saint of children. And meanwhile, the fact that he was shown with a barrel led people to conclude he must be the patron saint of brewers. But now, according to another story, as we change the scene. During that time of famine that Myra experienced in 311 to 312, a ship was docked at port at anchor, and that ship was loaded with wheat for the emperor in Constantinople. And Nicholas tried to persuade the sailors to unload a part of the wheat to help Myra in its time of need. Now the sailors first disliked the request because the wheat had to be weighed accurately and delivered to the emperor. Only when Nicholas promised that they would not suffer any loss for their consideration, the sailors finally agreed. When they arrived later in the capital, they made a surprising find that the weight of the load had not changed, although the wheat removed in Myra was enough for 2 full years and could be used for sowing new crops. Now Nicholas died in the year 343 at the age of 73. Recent archaeological evidence indicates that St. Nicholas may have been originally entombed in a rock-cut church located on the small Turkish island of Jamil. Would you please take him to his island? It was only 20 miles away from his birthplace at Katara. In the middle 600s, however, Jamil was vulnerable to attack by Arab fleets, so Nicholas's remains appear to have been moved from the island to the city of Myra. And Myra had served as a bishop there for most of his life. It was just 25 miles east of Jamil. But in 1087, while the Greek Christians inhabited the region were subjugated to newly arriving Turks, a group of merchants from the Italian city of Bari removed the major bones of St. Nicholas' skeleton from the sarcophagus and without authorization and moved him to his hometown in Bari, Italy. The remains arrived on May 9th of 1087. 2 years later, Pope Urban inaugurated the new church, the Basilica di San Nicola, to St. Nicholas and Mary, and the Pope himself personally placed Nicholas's relics into the tomb beneath the altar of the new church. However, now, the Archdiocese of Bari allowed for one scientific survey of the bones. In the 1950s, his bones were removed from the crypt for the first time. You can come down so that a scientist can get to you. There we go. And a special pontifical commission permitted Luigi Martino, a professor of human anatomy at the University of Bari, to examine the bones under the commission's supervision. Martino took thousands of measurements. They took detailed scientific drawings and photos and x-rays. These examinations revealed the saint to have died at over 70 years of age and who had an average height and slender to average build. He also suffered from severe chronic arthritis in his spine and pelvis. In 2004, at the University of Manchester, researchers Carolyn Wilkinson and Franco Aitrona reconstructed the saint's face based on Martino's examination. The review of the data revealed that the historical St. Nicholas was 5'6" in height. He had a broken nose, which had partially healed, revealing the injury that had been suffered during his lifetime. Nicholas had been beaten and tortured during the Diocletian persecution, and this seemed in context with his biographical reports. The facial reconstruction was produced by Carolyn Wilkinson at the University of Manchester and was shown on the BBC2 TV program The Real Face of Santa. In 2014, the Face Lab at Liverpool John Moores University produced an updated reconstruction of St. Nicholas's face. And you'll be able to look at this face as you exit church today. Dutch traditions regarding St. Nicholas was also known as Sinterklaas in Dutch. St. Nicholas gave rise to a new world tradition of Santa Claus when the Dutch established the colony of New Amsterdam in New York, and they brought the legend and traditions of Sinterklaas with them. Today, St. Nicholas is still celebrated as a great gift giver in several Western European and Central European countries. It remains a common custom for children to leave shoes outside on the eve of St. Nicholas Day to find them filled with treats the coming day, a sign, again, of the generosity and faithful service of St. Nicholas during trying times. It is for us an moral lesson that we are to do the same in our trying times, to exercise generosity and patience, to be devoted to peace and faith, and to bring again a sense of human decency, generosity, and compassion as an enduring legacy of Christian hope for every age and nation. And David, will you play for us? Giving thanks to our poets. I'm so grateful to them and for David being thrown in the mix also with the music there. Thank you. And you will be able to see St. Nick as you leave today as well as his reconstructed facial portrait.